So today I want to talk to you about things that take us back. I could not tell you how many times as an elementary school kid, we finished up the day at Lowell Elementary, and then my friends and I would hop on our bikes and bike down to the gas station for a can of, you guessed it, Surge. And I just have to tell you, as a 35-year-old, it does not taste like it did when I was 10. But there's moments in life that take us back to another moment, from the present time to the past. And there's a moment like that in the scriptures too, and it's found in the book of Acts. And if you're new to the Bible, the book of Acts is written by a disciple, a follower of Jesus named Luke. And what Luke does is that after Jesus' ministry and he ascends into heaven to be united with the Father, Luke writes what happens after that, what happens after the resurrection, like what happens to the people of God. How does God use them? How is he at work? And we find these words in the second chapter of Acts. It says, when the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. And suddenly a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. And all of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them. So for the Jews that are gathered in Jerusalem, this moment of the Holy Spirit coming, of this wind and this fire resting on them, it would have taken them back to a story that their ancestors would have told them about them being rescued out of Egypt. And so generations before, the people of God were enslaved in Egypt, and God sends Moses to liberate them, to walk with them out of slavery and into freedom. And the way that that happens is that God sends his Spirit to empower them and to give them direction. And so we find in Exodus chapter 14 that there is a pillar of cloud that would lead them by day and a pillar of fire that would lead them by night. And there's a couple ways that this functioned to be of help to the people of Israel. And so it would lead them. And so they needed to know where they were going. They'd been in Egypt for generations and they didn't know anything else. And so the pillar of cloud would lead them, and the pillar of fire would protect them at night and give them light. And the pillar of fire would be a reminder of the very presence of God, that they were indeed not alone, but their God had come to dwell, to be with them, to empower them. And also the pillar of cloud and fire would prepare the future for them. And so we even find stories later in the Old Testament, in the book of Joshua, when people had heard about what God was up to with the nation of Israel. And so there's this woman named Rahab that before the people of God even step into the promised land, Rahab has already heard about their God. And so we see the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud, this picture, this illustration of the Holy Spirit of God leading God's people and protecting God's people, serving as a reminder for God's presence and preparing the hearts of the people who will encounter the people of God in the future. So this is such a powerful moment for followers of Jesus, for God's people. This comes like 50 days after Jesus ascends into heaven, and this wind that fills the entire house where people are gathered takes them back to the book of Exodus, to their ancestors, when the pillar of cloud led them, and the fire that rests on each and every one of them would have taken them back to that same story, the pillar of fire that would have given them light in the darkness. But what's different here is that the Spirit of God sent a cloud for the entire nation, wind for the entire nation, and then a pillar of fire for the entire nation. But what's different here is that God sends wind and fire for each follower of Jesus. It says that it's separated and came to rest on each of them. And this is what was going to empower the followers of Jesus in the days ahead to fulfill everything that Jesus had taught them to do going forward into the future. This was going to be the power by which they would live. And I think as we think about 2020, I think it's true that we're not going to be able to control everything that falls on us, because difficulty is going to fall on us. Confusion is going to fall on us. Grief is going to fall on us. Anger is going to fall on us. Opportunities that we do not believe that we are ready for are going to fall on us. And the question is going to be like, is the thing that falls on us going to define us in that moment, but then also going forward? Because the truth is, not everything that falls on us is designed to stick with us. And in this story and in this moment in the history of God's people, when the Holy Spirit comes, that is the thing that is to define them going forward. That is the thing that is to stick with them, even in the middle of darkness, in the middle of confusion, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of anger, in the middle of doubt. It's the Holy Spirit that's the defining feature of life. So I just want to ask, as you think about 2020, like, what's going to tell the story for you? Like, what's going to be the thing that is going to define your life going forward? Because there's just too many of us who have had things descend, who have had things fall on us that have defined us going forward, when really we can stand with followers of Jesus in the past in Acts chapter 2, that the wind has blown and covered the whole house, and the fire has come to separate on each and every follower of Jesus. And so I just want to ask us if we believe that. I want to ask us if we would receive that. I want to ask us if we would live as if that has actually happened, because the Spirit of God sends wind to fill the whole house. In the same way, He has sent His Spirit to fill the whole earth. And so His Spirit, His wind, and His fire is the definer of our life. So I pray that as you think about 2020, that would be what defines you. Because you're not going to be able to control everything that falls on you, and everything that falls on you is not designed to stick, but the Spirit of God is designed to do that going forward.
All right,
Okay, ready?
go for it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Can we do it one more time?
Yep.
All right, go for it.